Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health Chats podcast. Today, I am sitting down with Terri Boucher. Terri is a conservative dating and confidence coach, shaking up the modern dating space. She teaches women how to stop settling, stop chasing, and stop abandoning their feminine energy, and instead attract masculine men who lead, provide, and pursue wholeheartedly. Terri is redefining what healthy magnetic femininity looks like, and she's on a mission to help women experience the kind of love that actually feels good. Terri has also become a good friend of mine. She was introduced through the coaching community. Shout out to our mutual friend, Diera, matchmaking two Canadian girls all the way from a little island in Hawaii. How cool. I feel pretty excited about this conversation, also kind of nervous because I'm single. And to be so real and raw, I have deep relationship issues. So, not only will this conversation be for anyone listening who's maybe on a similar vibe, but it's also for me because this is my podcast and that's what I get to do. So, thank you, Terri, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to do this with you and don't feel nervous. I'm so excited. This is going to be great. This is going to be
Yeah,
great.
thank you. It's funny. This week has been just so big. I don't know if God, I don't know, the moons, Mercury's in the microwave, something's going on.
Something
Because
is
I had a
happening.
conversation yesterday too that was so expansive, and then I go to Bali tomorrow. So that's what we're doing. And I want to dive straight in by asking, how the heck did you become a dating coach?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll give you a short snippet backdrop of my story and kind of what brought me to here. And it's interesting. I was on a call with someone this morning that was inquiring about my program and my coaching. And before we could even get into anything, immediately her first question was, "What are your credentials?" Right? And I had said to her, "My credentials are that I've been from hell and back, and I've figured it out myself." Right? And so yeah, I grew up in utter chaos. So I grew up very poor. My family lost their family home at one point. I had an older sister that was an addict. So my childhood was very chaotic, very chaotic. My dad was extremely emotionally unavailable and my mom was extremely burnt out and exhausted and in survival mode from doing it all herself and having the weight of the world on herself for so long. And then I moved out at 13. And so as you can imagine, Kelsey, all of this accumulated or, whatever that word is, all of this combined really forced me into my masculine energy and into survival mode, which really made me not trust other people. It forced me to not allow myself to receive, to accept help. It forced me to be in my hyper independence. So I felt like I needed to do everything on my own. I couldn't accept any help. And I was constantly in survival mode, which what that meant for me, because oftentimes when you're consistently in survival mode, you're going to attract chaos time and time and time again in different scenarios. So, I was broke all the time. My car was always breaking down and, things were always going wrong. I was getting tickets and my relationships were just all over the place and chaos. And I got to a point where, and I'll backtrack for a second. So I started dating and the types of men I was dating were a combination of extremely wounded men, emotionally unavailable men, and I guess that kind of showcases most of it right there. Extremely emotionally unavailable and extremely wounded. Okay. And I went through this cycle over and over and over again. And I'm not going to lie, I was really in victim mentality for a long time. I was going through the same cycles. I couldn't possibly fathom the thought that maybe I had something to do with it. I just was stuck in the mentality of like, oh, all men suck. Why are all men emotionally unavailable? Yada, 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 right? I had all these thoughts, I had all these feelings, and I couldn't possibly fathom that I was the issue. And I'm looking around at all these women around me that are getting in beautiful, devoted relationships. And I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I'm like, how is that happening? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me that I can't attract that amazing person? And so obviously, as you can imagine, Kelsey, I had to take some accountability, had to step into, okay, let's take some radical accountability. I am the common denominator here in this equation. So I really stepped into that. From that point forward, I did have a bit of a breakdown that led to this breakthrough. I went through a period in life that I nearly got a DUI. I lost all my friends. I had lost my job. I had gotten pregnant from a guy that was like just not someone that I wanted to be with. And this was, I think I was about 20 at this time. And it was really tough. This was one of the harder times in my life. It was really, really tough. But such a blessing because, like I said, it was a breakdown to a breakthrough. It led me to going to having these breakthroughs and going, okay, I am the problem. I am the problem here. We need to make some shifts and make some changes. And so I really needed to take a deep dive into my own trauma and then also take a deep dive into my masculine energy and the ways that it was showing up in my dating life. Once I started adjusting that, and it didn't happen overnight, it took me quite a long time to work on this stuff. But once I really started adjusting this stuff and navigating this, I started attracting very different men that wanted to show up. They wanted to provide. They wanted to choose me. They weren't looking for a casual fling. They were looking to be committed, right? And long story short, I met the man of my dreams, and the rest is history there. But the whole process made me realize that there's so many women that have no idea where to start. They have no idea how to get to from A to B, right? So that's what kind of set me out on my mission. I know that was a kind of long-winded answer, but that's what kind of set me on my mission to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I, my immediate question is, okay, so you realized you had to dive into that masculine energy and you had to sit with yourself and the traumas. What was that process? What did you do?
Yeah, it was a lot of practice, a lot of practice. So first of all was kind of understanding and figuring out what that all meant. Because I feel like this is kind of newly very popular, right? Like I feel like it's blown up the last few years that people are talking about masculine and feminine energy. And there's still a lot of people that don't understand it and they don't get what that means. And so I went through a phase or a process of just understanding what it means to be in your feminine, what it means to be in your masculine, where this comes from, like diving deep into where this comes from, why it's there, and then going into trying to put it into play, right? And I think that every woman who is in their masculine energy and might be in survival mode and has some wounds from childhood and maybe some beliefs and narratives around love and men and relationships that don't serve them, I think they go through a series of what I like to call the performing feminine, right? And what I mean by that is you're trying to step into your feminine, but you're stepping in a very inauthentic way. So, for me, that looked like wearing makeup and dresses and prancing around and trying to be soft, which there was nothing wrong with that process. It was all part of the process. But in the beginning, it can be very much so performative. Like it's not truly, you're not truly in your feminine, right? You're kind of performing. And so I see this a lot with women that are trying to get into their feminine. They feel like they're in their feminine and they're still attracting the unavailable men, the wounded men, the passive men, the men that aren't showing up for them, right? And it's because at some level, the way that they're stepping into their feminine is kind of fake, right? Like they're trying to be in their feminine, but they're not really doing it. They're not really doing it. And so where that shift happens is not necessarily in relationships, but in day to day. Like, you know, can you go to the grocery store and can you find joy in the mundane task of going grocery shopping, right? Can you find presence and joy in that? Can you find your childlike spirit every single day? Can you find time to get rid of the grind and jump around and dance and let that childlike spirit out during the day, right? Can you allow yourself to be rather than just being go, go, go all the time and feeling like you have to prove your worth or earn something or constantly on that rat race, right? And I understand when you're a single woman, you got bills to pay. You got bills to pay, and, like, for most people, you're paying your own bills and, all that stuff, so I totally get that. But there is a balance, like, you don't have to be in survival mode. You can earn a living and not be in survival mode and honor yourself and take care of yourself, right? I think another common misconception, and I know you didn't ask this, Kelsey, but a common misconception I get all the time with feminine energy is like, "Oh, but I don't wanna change myself," right? I don't wanna change myself, or I don't wanna be a doormat. I don't wanna be a doormat. I don't wanna not have boundaries. I don't want to, just listen to whatever a man says. And I wanna debunk that for a second because as a woman, I think to your core, what you're doing by stepping into your feminine energy is actually coming home to who you are, right? That insane survival mentality, that's not who you are to a core. That's what you had to adapt to be based on your trauma, your, upbringing, your life, society. You were conditioned to believe you had to be that way. And then now you're convinced that that's who you are, right? And so I am of the belief that like stepping into your feminine energy is not losing any parts of you that you're not losing any parts of you. You're stepping into who you are. You're truly coming home to you, your authentic 100% version of you, right? And then the mentality of like, well, I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want to be walked all over. I don't want to be this like timid, you know, girl. Well, that's not what I stand for at all. Being in your feminine energy is being confident, is setting boundaries. It is standing up for what you believe and what you want, and knowing your worth and walking away when you're not getting what you need, and you know all of this stuff. It's I think people associate feminine energy with like a 1960 woman that's like abused and can't speak up for herself, right? But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. It's just that we don't need to be operating the same way men do. We're not men.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny as you speak. I don't know if it's like triggers inside of me coming up, probably. But my first thought is, okay, so we live in 2025 right now. I've been single for 5, 6 years at this point, and I am absolutely like a very driven masculine woman because I've had to become that. It wasn't because of, I would say, childhood. I had a very stable home growing up. It was definitely like, okay, coming out of my prior relationship years ago, in order to pay for my own rent and build the life that I wanted to build, which is really a pretty basic life. Like, I don't live anything grandiose by any means, but I have to work because looking at just the economy, like we got to make money. It's very rare to be able to get into a relationship now, even these days, where the man can be that breadwinner and make, all of the money. And I'm sure you're picking up subconscious stuff in me right now, but give me more, more time. How can you step, like when you've gotten so used to that, one from an internal subconscious standpoint, but two, from a this is how I need to operate in order to pay my bills. How can you step into the feminine, but still be able to be your own provider if getting into a relationship isn't maybe like your goal right away? Let's just focus first on feminine energy.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I said, practicing in small moments every single day. So, feminine energy is very much so creativity, flowing, intuition. We're very emotional beings. It's receptivity. These are just a few things that kind of showcase or are characteristics of feminine energy. So, if we go about it this way, very much so, it would be practicing these characteristics, right? So, say, for example, you're someone who really struggles to receive help, right? And oftentimes, with someone who's in survival mode, that goes hand in hand, is you generally really struggle to receive help. And therefore, your life has been in survival mode because you refuse to receive help. So, what I would say, if that's a characteristic, I would say practice in very small ways. Maybe you have a 9 to 5 job, and maybe at this job, someone offers to step up and take something off your plate. And your immediate response is to go, oh, no, 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 I'm okay. I'm good. I can do it myself. Right. It's recognizing the areas where you kind of have this wall up, this protection mechanism up that's not serving you anymore, and practicing bringing it down in slow, gentle ways with yourself. So when someone offers to buy you a coffee, when someone offers to step in and help you a little bit, when someone offers something, choosing to believe that they're genuine about it and saying, yes, thank you so much, rather than feeling like a burden and going, no, 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 I couldn't possibly, I need to take care of this myself. Right. So saying yes to the help more and then slowly doing that in bigger ways, slowly asking for more help and realizing that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to receive. And there's so much help and love to go around in the world that like, it's insane how much you can be taken care of if you can just ask for help, right? So that's what I would say with that. Maybe you're really closed off emotionally, right? And you're struggling with feeling your emotions to the full degree. So I would say practice feeling what comes up. Practice not shutting it down as soon as it comes up. Like feel it. Feel the full range of your emotions. And I know it's really uncomfortable when we have maybe these feelings of anxiety or, sadness or whatever these kind of feelings with negative connotation come up. But the way I like to view this is like we're humans, and what a beautiful thing to feel such a wide range of emotions. Like it's such an incredible thing to be human and feel this wide range of emotions. So tap into that, like tap into your emotions, tap into what comes up, tap into your intuition, pay attention to your intuition, right? And like really listen to that, really, really, really listen to that and honor it, right? And again, that's practice. Like you just have to practice in very small ways and then increase, right? You're kind of increasing your dosage. You start really small, then you increase your dosage, So you can absolutely do this single. And I actually recommend for every single woman who's listening who is single to do it single, right? Because if you have the expectation of like, okay, well, I'm in my masculine energy now and like I have to provide for myself and I'll get in my feminine energy when I meet the right man, right? You're not going to meet the right man if you don't get into your feminine energy before you meet the right man, if that makes sense. Like if in this hustle bustle masculine energy, you're going to attract a passive man, right? That's the type of men you're going to attract. Men that don't want to take the lead. They want to be mothered. They want to be taken care of. They are emotionally unavailable, possibly wounded. It's different for every woman what kind of men they're attracting, but that's the case. And so yeah, you can absolutely provide for yourself. I totally get it. Like in this economy, I totally get it. You have to provide for yourself, right? But there are ways to definitely step into your feminine. And so, like I said, practicing receiving help, practicing feeling your emotions, practicing, stepping into your intuition, practicing finding joy and play every single day in some way, shape, or form, stepping into that presence, right? That like nurturing presence. And maybe it literally is instead of going to the grocery store and when you're standing in line and you're like, oh my God, this line is so long and I just like want to get home and you're scrolling through your phone, maybe you decide to put your phone down and you decide to look around and notice all the beautiful things about the people around you. And, no, I don't know if there's any good smells in a grocery store, but like no, like tap into your senses, right? Tap into your senses, like really bring yourself present in the and it's so important to do this in the moments where like you don't want to be present, right? It's you're kind of aggravated. Those are the most important moments. When you're stuck in traffic and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to get home." Right? Those are the moments to tap in. And maybe it's practicing being grateful. Maybe it's practicing being present, like finding joy in the moments that you don't want to find joy. That's really stepping into your feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good, very like tangible, very, very tangible things. I think because I'm going to use myself, I'm going to keep using
Go
myself as
for it.
an example because I'm like, help me. What? Because there's practicing your feminine energy, right? Like being in that and everything you just said. I look at myself and I'm like, I do that daily. I have my meditation practice. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm in the grocery store. I'm never on my phone if I don't need to be or rarely. And I make bracelets, I paint, I go to pottery, I do these things. And yet I'm still attracting very watery men. I'll use that term, very watery men who are extremely emotional, which I think is beautiful. Everyone should share their emotions, but it's almost like too feminine for me because I do know that my masculine, it's stronger. I am very much a businesswoman, yet I practice the feminine sides. So this is where I'm like, it feels almost like I need to shape shift in order to attract a man who is at a higher level of masculinity than me. So my question is like, what do the hyper single girls like me really need to know about dating specifically in
Yeah.
2025, like right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so before I dive into that, I'm like having kind of like something intuitive pop up and I want to say it and I don't know if it's going to hit home and you can edit this out if this is like you're like Terry, shut the hell up. But I have a feeling, Kelsey, that you really, really struggle to release control in your life. And you kind of, you're practicing in all these areas, which is incredible. Like it's incredible. You're practicing in all these areas, but you're almost taking a masculine approach to it. You're like, hey, check the boxes. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. Right. And then you're gripping onto control in every area. And I don't know if that resonates or if that's accurate, but that's a big part of this too, is like a big part of stepping into your feminine is really surrendering. Because if you can't surrender, you're not going to be able to allow a man to lead you. You're going to be constantly stepping in and going, okay, well, let's do this. No, 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 let's do this. No, no, no. Like it should be this way. That's not the right way. Right? Does that feel accurate for you, Kelsey?
Yes. Fuck. Literally, like the word surrender. This is hilariously in line with my conversation I had yesterday too. Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So for you specifically, what I would say is like that probably needs to be your focus. You're doing all the things in the other areas, but I would say really focusing on surrendering in the areas you can. And what I also want to say is like, you don't, as a woman, you don't need to fully step into your feminine energy, right? You just have to step into your feminine energy enough that there's the polarity there to attract that masculine man that you want, right? Or it needs to be in certain areas of your life because yeah, like I have to be in my masculine energy to be in business. Like it takes a little bit of grit. It takes, it takes some planning, takes some strategy. I can't always be in the flow. I can't always just be this like creative being. Sometimes it takes a little bit of planning and strategy. So yes, you can be like, and this goes for any woman who like has a 9 to 5 corporate job and you love it so much and whatever it is, right? You can be in your masculine energy with what you do in your work or your business, and you can be in your feminine energy otherwise, right? And so you can be in your masculine energy in your business and then allow your man to step up and for you to be in your feminine energy like elsewhere, right? So like that's kind of a rule of thumb for yourself specifically is like what I just said, the learning to surrender and release control, right? And I know that you are somewhat of a spiritual being and it just when you're in that state, it's going to like men can smell it from a mile away, right? The men that want to lead and they want to step up, they can smell it from a mile away. They go, oh, she's not going to really let me lead. So like, there's no space for me. There's no space for me to step in there. That's the other thing too, is like physically and energetically, if you're single and you're looking for a man, you want to meet your man, I would say physically and energetically, you have to make space for him, right? So like, if you are this hyper independent woman and you do everything yourself and, you pride yourself on that, there's no room for a man to come in and take care of you, right? Like, I would start allowing the men in your life to take care of you, right? So allow the men in your life to come fix your car. Allow the men in your life to come hang that painting. Yeah, you can do it, but allowing yourself to be taken care of even while you're single by like, you know, trusted friends, family, like the trusted masculine in your life, start training yourself to trust the masculine in your life to show up for you before you're in a relationship. So you can practice being in your feminine with the masculine in your life so that when you do go date and you do go to step into a relationship, it kind of starts to feel second nature because you're like, okay, I'm used to being in my feminine. I'll allow him to take care of me. Right. And then to touch on, like, I'm almost forgetting what your question even was. It was, what do we do with the single girlies? Right. Like, what's the advice for the single girlies?
So, what do we, before we even get back to that though, you said like allow the men in your life to be in their masculine and like to help. And what came up for me, and again, probably just like triggering hyper girl beliefs, I personally feel like the men in my life see me as such an independent woman that at this stage, they don't even offer because they know she'll just do it.
Uh,
Like, there isn't really even those check-ins, like, "How's your oil? How's this? How's that?" Because I just do it. So, I don't believe I'm broken. I just think I'm pretty far into it that for the women who are, because when I think, like, hyper independent, like, hyper like, this is, like it's an identity at this point, and I understand identities can be shifted. But say I am a client who comes to you and I'm like, yeah, the men are around, but like I'm fixing their car. Like, how do you shift that? How do you really shift that narrative?
yeah. Yeah. So again, it's going from like it's a slow process, right? And it's like I'm not expecting any clients to go from 0 to 100. I'm expecting them to go from 0 to 5 and then 5 to 10,
Mhm.
right? And move that way. And so maybe it's asking for a little bit of help, you know, right? Maybe it's in an area that you know you can do it yourself, right? But maybe you don't want to. And maybe you ask for a little bit of help. And the more that you ask for help in these areas, Kelsey, and you choose to depend on these men, they're going to feel needed and they're going to show up more,
Mhm.
right? So it's kind of opening that door again. And by no means are you broken. By no means are you broken. And I just want to like clarify that um 10 out of 10 women that come to me are in their masculine energy, whether they know it or not. And I would say most women in society nowadays are deeply in their masculine energy. Like, you're not alone in this, you're not broken, and you're not too far gone by any means, right? I think that you're doing so many incredible things correct and practicing so many amazing things. I think that it's making that room in your life for men to show up for you, right?
Yeah. And it starts here. All the men listening, if you want to text me and offer me things,
Yeah, exactly.
I will say yes. I
Yes,
will say
you
yes.
will receive.
Yes, I receive. Okay, back to the question. What do we need to know about dating?
Okay,
And I'm going to share a story on this
go for it.
because your girl's been on dates. Holy shit. So I don't think I told you this last time I saw you, but I feel like this is worth sharing
Okay.
for my audience. Didn't download a dating app for a long time because I like to talk to people. I meet people everywhere. I like the organic connection. I also hear that you can absolutely meet people on dating apps. I don't want to knock them, but for me, it just didn't feel aligned. Decided to download a dating app because I was like, I need to get the reps in. Like, I'm meeting people, but like, let's get the reps up. This is literally how I went into it. And met one went on 2 dates. First date was kind of a flop. We were both just like, he didn't text me after I didn't text him. Second date seemed like a really great guy. So I was like, okay, for with the risk of sounding cray cray, I am going to delete my Hinge, the dating app I was using, and just focus on you. It's super overwhelming to be matching with like or having 150 people like me a day. That doesn't seem like realistic in this world. Unfortunately, it is. But I was like, you seem cool. So I'm going to pursue you for a little bit. And he was like, that sounds great. Yeah, awesome. Let's do it. Fast forward, it was only 2 weeks. This man told me he's not comfortable with me going traveling. He wants to be the provider. He told me he loved me in less than 2 weeks of being together. And in that experience, I was like, okay, this dating app world feels like a fast track to people looking to just like lock someone down And then in that whole masculine feminine thing, be that masculine. And I don't want to say like all men are this because I don't believe that, but that was my experience in the dating app world. And I zoomed out afterwards, having to block this man and like completely erase him from all contact to me because that was really scary when I was like, actually, I don't love you. We just met. This is fucked. And now, yeah, I'm like, what do we need to know about dating? Because it feels like, in my own experience, I'm either attracting very watery men, very emotional, very dysregulated, or hyper masculine men who are like, yo, I want to control you and like take over your whole life. So help me find the middle way.
Yeah, so that's super, super common, by the way, like super common because when you're in your masculine energy, you're gonna attract the super passive men, the feminine men, or you're gonna attract the wounded men. And so I don't even like to call like you're talking about these hyper masculine men. I don't even like to call them masculine because I feel like it puts a bad rep on masculinity. It's just that they're wounded, right? Like it's just that they have their stuff to deal with. They're wounded, right? But on a positive note, like the way that I view this in a positive sense is you're slowly going in that direction, right? Like if you're attracting men that are very masculine, there's something in you signaling that you want a masculine man. So you're looking for that, right? So there is a positive in that. What I would say is everybody is going to have bad dates. Like everyone's going to have bad dates. Everyone's going to have, and I want to use the word bad lightly because like you can have so much fun dating, and I had so much fun dating, and I had a few really weird experiences with men, and I know this might sound kind of outlandish to compare this, but I like to compare dating to sales. Okay, because not every sales call that you get on is going to be like your dream client, and they're not just going to say yes, right? And it's not just going to be like so smooth sailing and amazing and they're just going to sign up, right? You're going to have a lot of people say no. You're going to have a lot of rejection, right? You're not going to be a fit for a lot of people, and they're not going to be a fit for you, right? Vice versa. And then maybe once in a while, you might deal with kind of some weirdos on these sales calls, like some weirdos that are like giving you some really weird information. You can tell that they're absolutely not a fit. And like, you're just like, wow, that really sucked. Like that experience was not a fun sales call, right? And so what I like to say is you just have to get in your reps and not overanalyze so much like these little experiences. It's like keep going. You have to keep getting in the reps, keep going on the dates. And the way that I verbalize this to my clients is not putting so much weight or pressure into the dates you're going on in the sense of like, oh, I'm like I want this to be my husband. Like maybe this will be the one, maybe this will be my guy. But simply putting yourself out there and getting on the dates to practice being in your feminine. Like practice being in your feminine, practice being authentic, practice being seen, fully seen, practice letting go of control and surrendering, right? Like you use it as almost a method to practice instead of putting so much, like you're kind of detaching from the outcome. But with that being said, you still have your standards and your expectations in place. It's not like you're detaching from the idea of wanting a husband if that's what you're looking for, right? Like you go out, you have the mentality of like, yep, I'm looking for my man, I'm looking for my husband, and I know he's out there, right? But I'm going on these dates and I'm not too attached to them. I'm just going to see where it goes. I'm going to have fun and I'm going to practice being myself, and I'm going to practice being in my feminine and receiving and surrendering, right? So I wouldn't honestly put so much weight. I think this happens so often where women have a couple bad dates and then they go, oh, it's not for me, right?
Mm.
But like if you did that in real estate or if you did that in sales, you would never make it because you really have to put the reps in, right? So I know that's a silly analogy, but that's honestly what I would say is like a lot of women aren't giving it enough of a shot because there's so many incredible women too, but there's so many incredible men out there. And that's the other thing I want to say is like one of the most game-changing things I did for myself when I was really actively looking for my man was I stepped into kind of a delusional energy. And I say delusional because most women don't talk like this and would laugh at me, right? I was consistently talking about how much I loved men, like all the time. And I mean it. And I was consistently talking about how much I loved men. And like I would drive past a construction site and I in my car by myself and I would go, "Oh my gosh, I just love men so much. Thank goodness I don't need to build houses." Right?
Yeah.
Like and it's kind of like the yellow car analogy, right? Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. So if you're looking for ways that men are not showing up for you and they are not great and they're not masculine and they're XYZ, that's what you're going to see. But if you can shift your focus and maybe it feels delusional to you, right? Maybe it feels inauthentic. And this is the only scenario that I love the saying, fake it till you make it. Like, really drill it in your brain how much you love men and be delusional about it. Chant it to your girlfriends. When your girlfriends are like, oh, dating apps suck and men suck and this and that and this and that. You go, no, I actually love men. Like, they are so amazing,
Yeah.
and think about the men in your life that you love, right? Because, and another way to think about this is like, if you go on a date with a man that kind of doesn't like women and is like, oh, like women, like, they're crazy. That's what you hear men say, right? Women are crazy. This, that, right? There's no good women out there. Like, I'm walking out on that date. I don't wanna be on that date. And even if they're not saying those words, like, you can pick up on the energy when a man doesn't really like and respect and love women. I wanna be with a man who loves women and respects them and cherishes them and wants to protect and provide and take care of them, right? And vice versa. A masculine man wants to be with a woman who loves men and respects them and looks up to them.
I absolutely love everything you just said. I got it so excited when you said like I was delusional because it's a similar concept with any sort of mindset work is you've got to be such a big dreamer. You have to be so delusional about the thing that you want that you believe you have it and then you do have it, right? That's the energy of receiving. And just hearing you say like I love men, it made me laugh because it probably brought up some unconscious shit in my brain again that's like, I never say that. I would never say that to myself. My thoughts are more like, fuck, here I am going on another date. And for those listening, they're probably like, wow, Kelsey's going through it right now. Cause I'm honestly just being so raw. But it's true. It's true. You're bringing up awarenesses that I just haven't come into yet. Like when I say, God, 2026 is about to be my year, I think it is because holy shit. I want to switch the script a little bit here. You market yourself as a conservative dating coach. And I want to know, like, what does conservative actually mean to you in the dating world?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, I market myself as a conservative dating coach, like politically, because what I find is that women who swing a lot more liberal, and this might be a very controversial take, are way harder to work with. So I just market myself to conservative women because they actually want to step into their feminine. They want a man to step up and provide and protect and pursue. And I find that women that are on the other side of the spectrum, like far left, they don't necessarily want that. Like they want 50-50. They want to be in a relationship with they want to be in a 50-50 relationship. They want to be in their masculine energy.
Mm.
So that's kind of why. And the other thing too is like I have not met very many liberal men that are really masculine, right? Like
Mm.
generally very masculine men tend to be somewhere in the middle, moderate, or they're leaning right, right? And so my mentality is like, well, I just honestly, I don't think that there's a ton of super masculine, very liberal men. So it wouldn't make sense for me to market to liberal women, right? Yeah.
How would you say your approach differs from, let's say, mainstream or apolitical dating advice?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think that like what I see a lot of actually is like, okay, so let me debunk a few common things I see in the dating world. So number one is if he wanted to, he would. And I want to debunk this because sure, when it's like the absolute bare minimum, like if he wanted to text you back, sure, he would, right? But I think that sometimes women go into dating with a sense of entitlement and they're like, oh, well, if he wanted to buy me flowers, he would. Or if he wanted to do this for me, he would. And they have this sense of entitlement that's like, I shouldn't have to ask for what I want. He should just know. He should be able to read my mind. Right. And the reality is like, you're not going to have a super healthy relationship if that's the approach you have, because you're actually going to have to ask for what you want. Right. He's not going to be able to read your mind. He's not going to be able to love you exactly the way that you want to be loved without communicating the way that you want to be loved. Right. So I'm not applying that saying to like the absolute bare minimum. And what I mean by the bare minimum is like being consistent, giving you a text back, showing up for you. But what I mean is I'm seeing it a lot with women in the sense of like, oh, if he wanted to buy me flowers, he would. If he wanted to do this, he would. If he wanted to do this, he would. But it's like, it's actually up to you. It's your responsibility. It's actually up to you to ask for what you want and to set those standards. And if he, at that point, you ask for what you want, you set your standards. And if then at that point, he's still not showing up for you, that's a different story. We can talk about that. But to expect a man to read your mind and go, if he wanted to, he would, leave him. If he wanted to, he would, leave him. Like that's kind of bogus, right?
Hmm.
We're all human. No one can read each other's minds, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I see common enough or often enough that kind of drives me crazy. Another piece is like the saying of like, oh, don't change for anyone. Don't change yourself for anyone, right? But the reality is that like as humans, we're constantly changing. A. B, if you're wanting to be in a committed long-term relationship, you are going to have to change for your partner. Right. So to have this like egotistical approach of like, I'm never going to change anything about myself ever. And I'm going to meet the most perfect person out there. Right. Like perfect people don't exist. That's not a thing. Everybody is wounded. Everybody has their stuff. Right. So it's figuring out what you tolerate, what your standards are, what your expectations are, what your values are, what's on your list, like in the direction you're going. Nobody's perfect, and you will have to change for your partner. You will have to, right? Like I've had to work on my communication a lot. That's me changing. I've had to change for my partner, right?
Can you give more examples of what you might change for a partner or in a
Yeah.
relationship?
Yeah. And so I want to like tread lightly with this because I don't what I think people are trying to get across with this, or what I think the saying is trying to get across with this is like, don't dim your light. Don't be inauthentic. Don't be a fake version of yourself for someone, right? Don't change your hobbies and your what you like and, your passions. Don't change that stuff for someone, right? But the way that society is taking it is like, don't need to change anything about myself, right? Like kind of having that dogmatic approach of like, I shouldn't need to be any different, right? But if we could all take more of a accountability approach and going, maybe I do have some things to work on, right? Like everybody has stuff to work on and you are going to have to change. When you enter a relationship, it's going to be the most healing and the most triggering thing for your journey, for your healing journey. Like you're going to have wounds and triggers that come up that you never knew were even existed. Like I truly feel that being in a relationship is the most expansive thing because it brings up all your wounds. So if you have the approach of like, I don't need to change, nothing needs to change, your relationship is not going to work out because you're going to have these wounds and these triggers and all this stuff come up that's going to cause a lot of friction in your relationship. And if you have the mentality of like, I'm not changing, I refuse to budge, I'm going to be stubborn in this, he should love me exactly the way I am, then you're going to have a hard time finding a man that like doesn't want any type of change, right?
What I'm hearing is it's rigidity versus fluidity
Mhm.
in self boundaries, if that makes sense. Like, I would say something I've struggled with and become really aware of in myself is how rigid I have been in the past with boundaries of, and I'm not saying boundaries are not important because they are, but I used to set it and be like, for example, what's one? The way I clean. I'm pretty fucking intense. I like to have things where they are. And living alone, it was really easy for me to be so rigid in that. Like, this is where I put things away. This is how my mug sits in the cupboard or in the pantry or whatever. And then living with people, which I live with people now, and it's been so expansive in just communication and being with humans and that part of my life. But I've had to become more fluid in something so simple like my cleanliness because I might put something somewhere and then someone moves it and I can't come to that like, "Hey, you, you did it wrong." There's no right or wrong way to do things. And I think that's in relationship what you're kind of saying with change is being okay to be more fluid in how you see the world and quieting the ego a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So
that's it,
I hear
exactly it.
that, and I definitely agree with those things that I see online that's like, "He wanted to, he would," and I've fallen I don't know if I wanna say victim, but I've seen them and I'm like, "Yeah, he fucking should." But I think now that I live with people and I also am lucky enough to be living with a couple and see their relationship and see a healthy relationship, that narrative has changed for sure in my own mind. I'm curious with back to you being a conservative dating coach and that comparison we sort of made to like mainstream and apolitical dating advice. Have you faced much criticism in this and how do you respond?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have faced criticism for sure. Honestly, like, if I'm getting hate comments or criticism in that way, I don't respond at all. Like, I don't put any weight into it. I've been posting on social media for, I think, 3.5, 4 years or so. And I've gone through different phases. Like, I've gone through phases of posting a lot more controversial stuff. Like, there's some people that are on my page because they follow me because of my more controversial views, like I was very passionate about all of the mandates around the vaccine and things like that. And when you post about anything polarizing, anything controversial, you're going to get a ton of pushback, a ton of hate. And that's actually a good thing because if you're liked by everybody, you're liked by no one. You can't be liked by everybody, right? Like you do have to be, in order to succeed in life and in business, you have to be hated by some. And if your mission is to be loved and be liked by every single person, then you're not going to find your crew or your crowd of people that are like really die hard for you, right? I don't know who says this. I have no idea who says this, but it's something like if you can get yourself hated by 50% of the world, then you can be pretty freaking successful because the other half of the world, like who is actually liked by half of the world, right? So that might not be answering your question the right way, but like it's taken a lot of, when I first started posting on social media and I'd get pushback and I'd get hate comments and things like that, it would affect me a lot more and dysregulate me a lot more. But like now from time to time that I get, a hate comment about like my views on modern day feminism and like modern dating and women's approach to dating and I, get a hate comment, it doesn't even like I don't sweat it at all. I don't comment back. And frankly, half the time I don't even see it. Like my content is pretty popping off lately and I've gotten a lot of engagement lately that like I don't see your hate comments. So I
Mhm.
don't care.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And that's, I mean, to talk business a little bit, that is the type of skin that you build when you are working for yourself. So I didn't expect any different of an answer from you. I want to lean towards wrapping up, but I have a couple final questions, my own curiosities. So there's a lot of relationship narratives that we hear often, or I would say that I hear through friends, people I know who are in relationships. They say relationships take work. There are always sacrifices. No relationship is perfect. I think you even said that. I'm curious if you believe this is true or if we have normalized suffering in relationships.
I think that people have normalized suffering in relationships. It doesn't mean that in your relationship you might not have hard conversations. Like, I think that hard conversations are really crucial for a really healthy relationship. Having difficult conversations that sometimes can be really hard in the moment, but your relationship shouldn't feel hard. Like that's of my belief. Your relationship shouldn't feel hard. Maybe you'll have a small season, a small blip, a hard conversation, but your relationship itself shouldn't feel hard. The saying of like, no relationship is perfect. Yeah, no relationship is perfect because no human is perfect. But I think when we have the expectation of trying to find a perfect human, which a lot of people do, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you're going out on these dates and you're looking for a perfect person, or you have a mile long list of standards and expectations that if they don't fit the mold, you're kicking them to the curb. Yeah, like no relationship is perfect, right? But
Mhm.
like you should feel so loved. You should feel incredible. You should feel so insanely comfortable with your person. You should be able to have these difficult conversations, right? Like you should have no doubt in your mind that this person is your person and you want to do life with them, you want to rock life with them, you like does that kinda answer your question? So yes and
It
no.
does.
Like,
It
I think
does.
that, again, people take these little sayings too far.
Totally. And you asked, I was going to ask, what should it feel like? And you answered that already is you should feel loved, which that just like it softened my heart a little bit because even outside of a romantic relationship, I look at my friendships around me and I would say my life is by design. Everyone in my life is in it very intentionally for a reason. I don't just hang out with anyone. And I feel so freaking loved by everyone. So looking at a potential romantic partner who comes to me, yeah, that feeling of being loved, it should be natural. And yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on couples therapy.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think it's great. I feel like people should start couples therapy way before they even need it because a huge, huge, huge thing that's going to be an issue in relationships is communication. And like even, even my man and I would say we have really good communication and, we're both really good at bringing things up when we need to and voicing, what needs to be heard and we're really good at that kind of rupture and repair, the quick repair in relationships. And still, there's time to time where like we have a miscommunication where, I don't feel understood and he's not understanding me and it feels frustrating, right? And we have really good communication. So for people who don't have good communication, right? And like to put it into this perspective too, like when there's conflict coming up, generally it's coming from both on both parties a very wounded place, right? So like one party is triggered and they're feeling hurt and maybe they're angry, but that anger is coming from fear. It's coming from fear and it's coming from childhood wounds. This fear is getting triggered and it's causing this anger and yada yada yada. And I think when you can have a really good therapist, I don't mean go to like any Joe Blow therapist because I think that there's some absolute crocs out there. But like if you can go to a really good therapist that can see your wounds, you guys can communicate and the therapist can call you out and go, "Hey, Terry, actually like this is coming up and actually you're reacting from a very wounded place and do you think that you might be triggered because that happened in childhood?" And, helping with the communication but also helping to realize why some of these things are coming up, right? So I'm all for that. I'm all for putting all of your effort into bettering yourself and your relationship, period, whatever that looks like individually,
Mm.
right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that answer. Thank you. I know a lot of people who have done couples therapy. One of my favorite podcasters for a long time, his name's Lewis Howes. You've probably heard of
Yeah.
him before. He has shared that him and his partner started couples therapy from the moment they started dating.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because I know I'm more than aware that I'm wounded and other humans are too. And by coming together in such an intimate setting, it just creates that space for these wounds to come up. And so yeah, that was a great answer. Okay, couple final questions to wrap us up. If there's a woman who is listening to this and they're feeling discouraged, they're lonely, they're done with dating, what is one thing that you would say to her?
I would say that don't underestimate how quickly things can shift for you. If you can shift your mindset, if you can tweak some things and get back into dating, you could meet your person 6 months from now, 2 months from now, right? Like things can shift incredibly fast. I feel like a lot of women are stuck on their timeline or feeling like time is creeping up or whatever that looks like. But things can change so incredibly fast. So don't give up. And also, on top of that, don't listen to your girlfriends that are single and unhappy or in bad relationships. Like, surround yourself with people who are in incredible relationships or women who have an amazing mindset around men. Because if you're surrounded by women who are consistently going, oh, all men suck, dating apps suck, dating sucks, I'm just meeting awful men, blah, 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 that is going to infiltrate your mind. So you need to be delusional about where you're going and what you want. And you need to surround yourself around people who are on the same page.
Yeah, that is incredible advice. I love that. Final question. I ask everyone this question. How do you define success in your life, Terry?
My gosh, that's such a good question. Yeah, that's such a good question. Oh my gosh, how do I even answer that? How do I
Oh,
define
yeah.
success in my life? I think like what's coming up for me is being in abundance in all areas. So, yes, I do want financial abundance and there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying that. I want financial abundance. I want an abundance of love in my life. Right? I want my relationship to have so much love. I want like an abundance of presence in my life. I want an abundance of resources to be able to be the most present mom in the future. Right? Like you know, I want all the resources possible. I think that success comes down to a feeling because the scale is different for everyone. Like one person's success meter might be like, oh, I need to be a millionaire. Another person might be like, I need to earn $100,000 a year, right? But the reality is like if we're consistently chasing the thing and not enjoying the process and not finding gratitude and love in the process and surrounding ourselves with the most amazing people and the most amazing community, you're going to constantly be chasing the next goal and you're never going to be happy with what you have. Which, don't get me wrong, it's not wrong to chase the next goal. I think it's amazing to be ambitious and continually to, continue to push the needle. But like there has to be this level of happiness in your life and gratitude for what you have. So maybe I define success as just like contentment with my life, like loving my life, which I do right now. I'm always pushing the needle and I do want more, but just like being so, so grateful for the people around you and what you have. Because money comes and goes. You can always make more money.
I love that. Incredible answer, incredible conversation. You just changed my life without, I mean, you probably realize you did, but more than you even realize. I am so grateful for this conversation. Thank you
You're so
so, so
welcome.
much. If anyone is listening and they are maybe in a similar boat as me, they're looking for some relationship support, some help, some coaching, how should they reach you?
Yeah. So Instagram is the best way to reach me. My Instagram handle is Terri_Boucher. You can shoot me a DM and we'll chat. We'll see where you're at.
Amazing. I will link all of that below in the show notes. Thank you again, my girl.
You're
I
so welcome.
will hopefully see you very soon.